Hi guys, ready to learn some C++? This video will be about looping. We're gonna learn how to loop, that is iterate a number of times using the while loop, do while loop, and for loop. Basically what we're trying to do is we have some repetitive task that requires we repeatedly do something, so that's why we use a loop. So let's start with the while loop. Got my C++ program here, and I declare a variable, integer variable called n, and I'm going to assign that the 1 to the value n, and then I'm going to run into the while loop here. So basically the way it works is while this condition is true, keep on executing these statements within the while block that are within the braces, okay? So it checks the condition. If it's true, executes whatever's within, and then it goes back, checks the condition. If it's true, does whatever's inside again, checks the condition again, keeps doing that. And if the condition turns out to be false, that is when it stops. Okay? And it goes on to whatever follows it. In this case, we're just going to finish our program, return 0. Okay? Now let's put some condition here. Suppose you want to uh, display like counter number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way up to maybe 10. So that's typical use of the loop. Okay, so what's the condition here? So we're gonna use the variable here as our loop variable. So as long as n is less than 10, we're gonna do some stuff. We're gonna just say n is, and we're gonna display the value of n and break the line. So it's gonna say n is, display the value of the variable n, and break the line. Okay, so it checks the condition n less than 10. Initially n is 1, 1 less than 10, that's true. So execute this. It's gonna say n is 1. Go back to the condition, but now we need to increase the variable every time so our loop is not infinite. See, if you had it just like this, the loop would be infinite, which is not a good thing. Don't ever make a loop infinite. It's gonna keep running forever because the condition is always gonna be true here, right? Because n is always 1. 1 less than 10, 1 less than 10, always, always. So this is gonna say n is 1, 1, 1, n is 1, is 1, n is 1, is 1 forever. Like it's gonna be a pain for your computer. Is gonna do that all the time. So you want to make sure the loop is not an infinite loop. So you have to find a way to stop it. The way we're gonna do that, we're gonna increment n every time for every iteration. So by the time it reaches like n equals 10, it's gonna stop because 10 is not less than 10. The condition will be false, and then we'll break the loop, and that's it. The program ends. So very important that we make sure the loop is not an infinite loop. In this case, I'm gonna just use the simple operator plus plus. The way it works is it just increments the value of wherever the variable is here. The variable n, and it set plus plus, and you finish the statement with a semicolon. That's gonna add, we're gonna assign, pretty much increase the value of n by 1. So n, if n was 1, it's gonna be 2 now. Okay, so increment operator plus plus. So let's go again. N equals 1, while condition n less than 10, 1 less than 10, true. See out, n is 1, increase n, now n is 2. Go to the condition, 2 less than 10, true. See out, n is 2. Increase n, now it's 3. Check the condition, 3 less than 10, true. N is 3 is going to be output, and so on and so on. When n, suppose n was 9, and then you do the statement, and goes from 9 to 10. Okay, before it said n is 9, and then n plus plus makes n now 10. Check the condition, 10 less than 10, that's false. So the loop breaks, and you're going to get n is 1, n is 2, n is 3, all the way to n is 9, right? Let's try it out. Plus plus looping, when output to looping. There it is, n is 1, n is 2, so on up to 9. Now, before I said let's do it up to 10, so you can modify, make slight change so it counts all the way to 10. So if you had less than or equal to 10, then when it goes from 9 to 10 here, 10 greater, less than or equal to 10, that's true. It says n is 10, increases n, now it's 11, the condition is false, and then you stop the loop, and that small change in the operator, or comparison operator, makes it count all the way to 10. Or you could just put less than 11. Same thing, same outcome. Recompile, execute. See, from 1 to 10. So that's it for the while loop. So don't forget to increment or decrement or whatever your variable, your looping variable, so that it will eventually make the condition here false, and thus the loop will terminate. Don't forget. Okay, now let's go on and talk about the do while. Very, very similar to the while loop. The only difference is the do while, you're going to execute whatever's within the loop statements at least once. Let me write it for you here first. Syntax is just to something while condition is true, and finish semicolon here. So basically, you're gonna, when you hit this statement here, you get to this point, it's gonna execute whatever's inside first without checking any condition. And then after that first time executing whatever's within the block, you're going to check the condition. If that condition is true, you go ahead and back to the statements, execute them again, check the condition. If it's true, execute them again until the condition is false, whereupon the loop terminates. So the do while, the statements within the do while block get executed at least once, because the first time it doesn't check any condition, it just does whatever's within the braces, and then it starts checking the condition after that. Okay, now let's try something like say n is 0, and you're gonna say cout the value of n is, you're gonna say n, break a line. Now don't forget to make sure the loop doesn't become an infinite loop. So let's say you're gonna increment n. Initially 0 is gonna way out all the way up to, let's make a condition less than 4. So let's just work through it. N is assigned the value of 0. Do. First thing it's going to do is going to say the value of n is 0. Increment n becomes 1. Check the condition. N less than or equal to less than 4. 0 less than 4, true. Say the value of n is 1. Increment n, now it's true. Check the condition again. 2 less than 4. True. Execute statements. Value of n is. Increment. So on. Up until it gets to when n goes from 3, 4, okay, 4 less than 4, false. Terminate the loop, that's it. Let's try it out. Recompile, execute. See, value of n is 0, all the way up to 3. Now, suppose, let's make the condition always false here. So I'm just gonna say false. So it's gonna come here, do whatever's within the loop, check the condition, is gonna be false, so it's gonna terminate right away. So only one execution. Because the do while doesn't, the first time it doesn't check for conditions. So it's gonna say the value of n is 0. So at least that, even though the condition is false, value of n is 0. Alright? So I just put false here to illustrate. It could be anything. Like, and greater than 4. Well, if n here is 0, come to the do, execute this, the value of n is 0, increment n. N is now 1. Check the condition, 1 greater than 4, that's false, right? So it doesn't even do that after the first iteration. It just breaks right away. So the only thing it's going to say is the first iteration, which always happens if it's do while. The value of n is 0, that's all. Even though you had n++ here, but it didn't really do anything because the condition was greater than 4. And n++ would make n 1, 1 greater than 4, already false. Terminate the loop, that's it. Value of n is 0, right? So that's pretty much it for the do while. Now I would like to move on to the for loop. We can pretty much achieve the same thing we did with the while, but the for loop is kind of nice in the way that it offers like 3 separate sections. So we could better structure a loop. It's good for things you're really sure of how many times it's gonna repeat and then kind of stuff. While the while loop, you don't really know when it's gonna end, how many iterations you're gonna need. So in the for loop, the way it works is first you have the initializer, then you have the condition, then you have the increment, decrement section. Okay, and the braces there. So the way it works, the for is first it initializes some kind of variable, looping variable here. You have to separate the sections with a semicolon. Then it checks for the condition here, semicolon again. If the condition is true, do the statements within the braces. After that is done, you go on to the increment section. The variables or variable is going to be incremented. Typically, you increment, decrement, whatever you put in the initializer as a variable. For example, variable n was initialized here. Then you're going to increment n, n++. And then, after incrementing, decrementing, you're going to check the condition to determine whether you're going to go on with the loop. If the condition is true, you execute the statements within the braces. Increment again, or decrement. Check the condition. If it's true, execute the statements, then keep on doing that up until it goes to increment, and then the condition is false. That's when it ends, terminates. Now let's go and do something. We have a variable n. I want to use that as a looping variable. I could declare it here and just set a value here, but we can also do this in C++. We can just declare right away inside initializer, like for int Let's say I'll put J above that. Typically in math we do I, right? Let's do I. So I'll do int I, and I'm gonna initialize to 0. Condition, I'm going to do as long as I is less than 10. Very similar to what we did with the before with the while loop. Increment, I'm gonna say I++. And do something, I don't know, see out hello. And break the line. So here we have initializes section, declares variable I, defines I as value 0 if value 0. For the condition we have as long as I is less than 10, do the whatever's within the for loop. And then the increment I after each iteration. So what it's gonna do is comes here, I is 0, checks the condition, 0 less than 10, true, executes statement hello. Increment I, now I is now 1, check the condition, 1 less than 10, true, says hello again, increment, and I is 2, I less than 10, true, say hello, increment I is 3, 3 less than 10, true, execute statements within the braces, hello, and keeps doing that all the way when I is incremented to 10. And 10 less than 10, that's false. That's when it terminates the loop and goes on with the program. Let's try this out. Compile. Execute. See hello here. Many times. How many times? 5 times, right? I mean 10 times. 5 and 5, so 10 times. So I from 0 to I to 9. So it repeats. Let's try to put an index here. Right before hello, I want to put the value of I. And I'm putting space. See what we get. Recompile. Execute. See? The value of I is here for each iteration. 0 hello, 1 hello, 9 hello. So when it hit I equals 9 and increments I plus plus, I becomes 10, 10 less than 10, false, so it stops. Nothing after that. It terminates the loop. Okay. So that's pretty much how to use the for loop. You could also do decrement. So suppose you had I and you set it to 10. And as long as I is greater than 0, you're gonna saying hello in this. So this case what we have is declare variable I, initialize it to 10, 10. 10 greater than 0, that's true. Do this, gonna say 10 hello. Check the decrement, I mean, from 10 it becomes 9. So I is 9. 9 greater than 0, true, execute this. 9 hello. And so on when it reaches I minus minus and I becomes 0, 0 greater than 0, that's false, terminates the loop. So it's gonna say 10 hello, 9 hello, all the way to 1 hello, right? There you go, from 10 hello to 1 hello. So going in descending order, decreasing. So you could add increment or decrement. You don't necessarily have to follow incrementing by 1. You can add more value, like suppose I want to decrement by 4. Notice this is the same thing as saying I equals I minus 4, okay? I'm just a shorthand notation. So in this case, I'm decreasing by 4 every time. So what will we get? Let's check it out. Oh, take a look at that. 10, hello. Then it decreased by 4. 6, greater than 0, true. Display 6, hello. Decreased by 4. 2, 2 greater than 0, true. Say 2, hello. 2 decreased by 4. And now it's going to become negative 2, right? Negative 2 greater than 0, false. It terminates. Okay. So this is pretty much it for the for loop, an introduction. And all these loops we did, while, do while, for loops, they're pretty much essential for program in software development. And if you learned how to do it in C++, you can do it pretty much any other language because they're very similar. Because things are many languages are often based on C and C++, and they use the same constructs: JavaScript, Swift, PHP. It's pretty much the same thing. So if you know C++, you know in all of these other languages. So it's very useful and essential to do repetitive tasks and do things that need repetition. Okay? So thank you for watching my videos. If you like my videos, please subscribe. Any requests for something you don't know or you want to learn, please post in the comments below. I'll try to see if I can make a video about that. And have a good one.